And today is National TV Dinner Day, and we got a show for you.
Oh, yeah.
Producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh. Hey, have you ever had a TV dinner?
Oh, yeah. I had a bunch of them over the years. I love the Salisbury steak.
Really? So
Oh, yeah.
when you think of a brand, what comes to mind?
Swanson.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I find that very interesting. In studio, Dr. Steve Swanson.
Oh, is he the TV dinner guy?
We're going to find that out here in a little bit, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just think it's kind of funny that Steve is in town today for National TV Dinner Day. So we're fortunate to have him here. So actually, though, I think he has some experience with TV dinners or something similar to that anyway.
Okay.
So we'll find that out in a little bit.
Before we go further,
Yep.
I got to talk to you. Rockin Dave is here, and he's blinding me with these Argyle socks.
Well, I match my socks match my shirt.
All righty.
You know, that's important.
He's
What,
wearing blue and white Argyle socks.
I'm thinking, Jim, that Rockin Dave actually might need a new prescription for his glasses as well, because I'm not sure how they match his shirt.
Well, you don't think these match?
The fact that
Checks?
Oh, I see. So it's checks and checks.
Ah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not like stripes and plaid
No,
or something.
no.
I
Sandals
work
and
really
socks.
hard.
Have you ever wore sandals and socks before?
No.
Really?
No.
It's against your fashion sense to do so?
Well, you know, Robert Klein did a whole thing about that. He said, if you ever see a man wearing sandals and socks, he will speak with a foreign accent.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Probably true. So we need an app that gives men fashion sense.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Dave could use it.
Dark blue and Argyle, no go.
Well, in studio, Rockin' Dave Blair, of course. Evan Anderson is in studio as well with Gizmonics. How you doing, Evan?
Doing great, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for being here today. So, so you're an engineer?
Yeah, in practice. I don't have an engineering degree. I've got a degree in industrial technology, which
Okay.
is a very engineering-like with some management thrown in and problem solving and all of that kind of fun. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. So tell us a little bit about what you do at Gizmonics.
Gizmonics is the third in a line of companies that I've had here in Bismarck, starting with WidgetWorks about 12 years ago, and then Innovative Solutions that I sold to a partner about 4 years ago, and now Gizmonics. And all three have kind of had a similar mission in that we do product development, engineering, prototyping. So I've got a full prototyping shop, 3D printing, CNC machining, those kinds of things right on site. So we're able to develop products and solve problems right there on site. And it's different every single day. Some days it's medical devices, and some days it's a tool for a plumber.
I'm guessing I could geek out in your shop.
Oh yeah.
That
Anytime.
sounds like a great place to go. So, and of course, the king of TV dinners is right next to you, Dr. Steve Swanson. How you doing, Doctor?
Doing fine, thanks.
Yeah. So you've had some experience with TV dinners in the past, or?
I think growing up I had a few.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not part of that family, that side of the family, so I didn't get any lucrative outcome of that. But in space, we had, I guess, similar meals. I would say probably didn't even taste as good, though, as the TV dinners you could get here on Earth.
I see. So,
Wait a minute.
of course,
In space?
yeah. You know,
In space?
he has a hobby
Okay.
as well. He's an astronaut.
Ah!
You know, don't let the name fool you. So, yes, astronaut Steve Swanson. Thanks for being on the Tech Wrench today.
My pleasure.
Yes, yeah. We're excited to have you here. So, you have an amazing career. I mean, 195 days in space, 5 spacewalks.
That's correct, 5 spacewalks.
27 hours on spacewalks. That alone is just amazing to me. You spent 6 months on the International Space Station. So we're going to get into some of this stuff
Sounds
today.
great, yeah.
That's, you know, it's the wonderful thing about radio is that we can actually have conversations about this stuff. So first of all, though, so I was looking at your bio. You were targeted to be an astronaut in like 97.
Right, started in 98, actually.
98, okay.
We come in classes or groups.
Okay.
Right, and so I came in the class of 98.
Okay. And then your first mission was?
2007.
So there's a 9-year gap there. So tell me about
That's
how does that
question.
go?
Yeah, so when I got selected, it was the time when we thought we would need a lot of astronauts. We had the space station just coming online in 98. It was supposed to start in 98. Didn't actually start till 2000. We were going to have 7 crew members on board the space station, and we were going to have probably 6 or 7 shuttle flights a year, which has 7 crew members on. So they thought they need a ton of astronauts to handle all this, work coming up. So the management at NASA hired, like before, so class was 44 people. Our class was 25 people. And then, though, and then the class of 2000 came, and they were about 25 people. But ended up being, this didn't come to fruition right away. There were delays in the program. We only had 3 people on the space station, and they were being taken up and brought back with the space shuttle. So that took up more seats. So it ended up being, we didn't have many available seats at all. And then in 2003, we had the Columbia accident, which slowed things down for a few years. And so this whole thing, all these things led to it taking a lot longer to get to space because there was just a big line of people waiting to go. And so that was just too bad. That's the way it worked out.
After the Columbia accident, when did we go back with a shuttle mission again?
It was about 2 years and 10 months, I think, afterwards.
Okay. And there were actually quite a few scheduled in there before that happened. Correct?
Yeah, it never went. We had to wait, and we actually threw in one that wasn't scheduled until after the accident. That then was going to be the first one back and do some repairs and stuff like that, and kind of test out our whole new process of making sure the vehicle was safe.
So, the morning of launch for you, can you go through that a little bit? The first time you're going to space, I mean, this had to be. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe what I'm even thinking about.
Yeah, you're getting a little nervous.
Yeah.
On the shuttle, though, the way I looked at it was you had less than a 50-50 chance of launching that day, even though you're scheduled for launch. There could be weather issues. There could be vehicle issues or something like that. So in my brain, I was thinking, I'm not launching today. Even though we're scheduled, it's just not going to happen.
Okay.
Right? So it made it a lot easier. You don't have to get too nervous about anything. Right. And so, and even getting dressed, you get on your orange pumpkin suit, and that starts about 4 hours prior to launch. About 2.5 hours prior to launch, you head out to the pad itself. And so each one of these steps, you're getting a little closer, but you're still, still not feeling like I'm going though yet. I'm still thinking, nah, it's still not going to happen. This is just dress rehearsal. We're going to have some fun with it, and that kind of deal. You get in the vehicle, and I'm the last person to actually strap in because I was a flight engineer. So it just happens to be that I get the last spot. So about 2 hours prior to launch, I'm strapping in, getting ready to go. And then the way it works down there, we start going through checks. We start working through some checklists. So you're still kind of relaxed, we're not really thinking too much about this. You're sitting on a launch pad, even though the vehicle is full of fuel, which is a little interesting in itself. It's 6 million pounds of fuel on there. Right. So it's kind of an interesting feeling. But until 9 minutes to go, we have a hold that we wait for where they check the weather.
Okay.
Right. And when you come out of that 9-minute hold, your chances have just increased now by quite a bit. You're probably got like an 80% chance of going.
Gotcha.
So that was always a little interesting.
So I'm going to put you on hold right there because we're going to bring this up at the other half of the break. So come on back, everybody, to hear the rest of this story.
Right now it's 64.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. SuperTalk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank everybody who follows us across the country and around the world on the Blueberry Network. We're on the Tech Podcast Network. If it's Tech, it's here. We're on iTunes, Tuned In, the Roku, and of course our own apps, Radio Pup and SuperTalk 1270. All kinds of places you can get the show live or as a rebroadcast later, and you'll probably want to listen to this one again. I know I will be. In studio, of course, producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh, and we have Rockin Dave Blair. To my right is Evan Anderson, co-founder of Gizmonics here in Bismarck, North Dakota, and somebody with TV dinners. Oh, I guess maybe not, but Dr. Steve Swanson, astronaut extraordinaire as well. We're really enjoying. So Steve was just talking a little bit about the first time he went to space. So this was in 2007. Okay. And the mission number was?
STS-117.
Okay. And so we're now 9 minutes before launch.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
You're coming out of the hold there, which is when we check the vehicle and for weather at this point, and everybody thinks everything is good to go at this time. Now, you still have a chance that the vehicle will have some kind of processing issue or as you get ready, because you start up different things like the auxiliary power units and stuff like that, and they could have an issue, and you would still possibly have the launch canceled for the day. But your probabilities have gotten much better that you're going to launch today. So, but we still, at this point, we have a bunch of checklists to go through as we start up, like the auxiliary power units. And so I'm working through those things with the pilot and commander. It's my job to go through the checklist. And we're getting everything started up. And at 5 minutes prior, actually, that's when the big auxiliary power units are started up. And we're pretty intense about that, trying to make sure that they're all timed. If they don't get started in a certain amount of time, it will abort the launch and stuff like that. So we're really working that hard. And then about 2 minutes to go, you'll actually get the call from ground to close and lock your visor, which is now, that's getting pretty close. You're like, wow, okay, this could actually happen, you know? So that's when I start really thinking about it, because our comm at this moment has pretty much done. We don't really have much anymore for checks to do at this point. We're just kind of waiting for the vehicle to take over. It takes over at 31 seconds. The onboard computer system takes over. And at that point, the vehicle is the only thing that can shut it down pretty much at that point. And so when that happens, and so I get about 2 minutes to really think about my decision making prior to this on was this a good idea or not. As I sit on 6 million pounds of fuel going, God, I don't know what the odds are here. Really. Is this going to be worth it and all that kind of stuff? And of course, it was worth it. It was fantastic. But it gives you 2 minutes to have some second thoughts, and then you're flying. And from that point on, we're working our checklist. We're going through everything, and it's a great ride up to space.
So go ahead. Let me just ask. So can you abort the mission at that time going, man, I'm not ready. I don't want to go.
No, you cannot.
Visor down, you're locked in now.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting on that one super ride, roller coaster, and going, no, I don't want it. Sorry, you're on, baby.
You're on. The guys push the button. You're starting to move. You are not getting off.
So you hear the countdown, 10, 9, 8. I mean, do you have all this stuff running through your head at this time, or are you just like looking forward to the ride?
Both. We're hearing that at the same times. We have some checks we're going through, but what I can really see, because I have a window above my head, I can look back actually down on the launch pad a little bit, and I can see the cloud billows when they pour a bunch of water on the launch area to protect it. All the steam kind of rises up, and this huge cloud. I can see that happening, right? And then at 6 seconds to go, they light the main engines, and if those all work fine, then we're going to light the solid rocket boosters, and that's when we launch. So you're checking the engines. We're watching the engines, start up to make sure they're good. We call 3 at 100%, means they're ready to go, and then boom, you are gone. And it's amazing. That boom is amazing. Those solid rocket boosters are 3 million pounds of thrust each, so you got 2 of them together, giving you 6 million pounds of thrust on that thing, and you know it when they hit. I mean, you are launch off that launch pad, back. You're already on your back, but you feel like you're just slammed to the back of the seat, and you are going from that moment on.
So how many G's is your maximum G's that you feel?
It's only like 3.5 on the way up.
Oh, that's not so bad.
No, it really isn't that bad on the way up. It's a little different than an airplane, though, when you're thinking of like a fighter pilot version, because it goes through your chest in a direction, like if you're laying on your back, it's coming through your chest.
Gotcha.
So it's like somebody really heavy sitting on your chest. Like if you're in an airplane, it's actually coming from your head to your toes and taking the blood out that way. So it's a little different in that way. So it doesn't feel that bad. It just feels like something really heavy is on your chest. And when you're trying to reach up to hit switches, it's a lot more difficult for that point of deal. So that was kind of the funny thing is when we go through a bunch of training on all sorts of malfunctions before we can fly, as you can imagine. And we go through this training where they have malfunction after malfunction on us, and we're running through checklists really quick and hitting switches and doing all sorts of things. And we realized as soon as you start flying, there's no way you could actually do that in real life. You have the G's on you. This thing is shaking with the solid rocket boosters. You could barely get your hand on one switch if you wanted to. And we kind of joked about that after you fly. It's like, well, glad I did all that training, but I know we wouldn't be able to do hardly any of that.
Interesting. So how long from the time you take off to the time you hit actual space?
Well, it depends what you mean by space.
When you're in that space where you're...
Are the engines running? Because that's really the big thing.
Because
we're going from 0 miles an hour to 17,500 miles an hour.
Okay, and you do that
in 8 minutes and 32 seconds.
So 0 to 8 minutes, or 0 to 7,000 miles
17,500 miles an hour. 5 miles a second.
In 8 minutes.
In 8 minutes. So the rate we're going for is orbital
goodness.
velocity, because we get out of the atmosphere actually pretty quickly. Within 2 minutes, we're out of the atmosphere.
Okay.
And we then turn over and start kind of more going like parallel to the Earth to get our speed up.
I see.
Right.
So how fast are you going when you get out of the atmosphere then?
We're going about Mach 5.
Okay. Okay, so you really gain speed when you get up and start.
We turn over, basically
going
kind of
horizontal with the.
Yeah, and we try to go, because we're going to go around to get orbit, so we're trying to get our speed that way.
So go ahead.
But the idea is that's why we want to get out of the atmosphere, though, because that's a drag on the vehicle, right?
Right.
So then we can really accelerate once we're out of the atmosphere.
How fast do you have to be going to stay in orbit?
17,500 miles
So
an hour.
that is the number, the magic number.
That is it, yes.
Can you go faster than that?
Yes, but your orbit will be higher then, really, a little bit. So orbital dynamics is a little interesting on the mass side of it, but I find it kind of fun to do with. But it's kind of interesting. Say if I'm in the orbit the station is in, which is 250 miles above the Earth, right? And if I want to increase my orbit a little bit, I will burn my engines, but I don't increase it at that point. I get going faster, but on the other side of the Earth, 180 degrees out, I will be in a higher orbit, but going slower. It's really interesting. And then when you come back, you're actually back to where you were at the same height, 250 miles around. So you're in more of an elliptical orbit.
I see.
But your speed changes as it goes. So think of it as a combination of potential and kinetic energy. And you're always kind of keeping those.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't it like the figure skater pulling arms in, and it's
Yes.
a lot of those same dynamics.
Gotcha. All right, so you hit space. First time in space now. I mean, what do you feel like at that time? When the pen starts floating away from you or whatever it is.
So that's definitely an interesting time. One day, though, in the shuttle, we are very busy. So we are having to do a bunch of, we have to burn the engines, again, to keep get the orbit we want to go into. We're doing a bunch of checks. We're doing all sorts of things. So I'm still strapped in, again, because I'm working with the pilot commander. We stay strapped in for the first hour. We don't even get out of our seats.
Okay.
Right, so we're staying strapped in. Other people are doing some other work, but we have to stay in there and do this work. Then I get to actually finally get out of my seat, and that's when things get interesting.
Okay.
Because you are a klutz when you first get to space. I mean, it feels so awkward. It's like I'm not walking. I try to push, but I don't push correctly, so I kind of start spinning and all sorts of things. It takes a while to learn how to move in this new environment and do it efficiently and well, and not be a real klutz out there.
So on your first mission, how many days were you up?
We're up for 2 weeks.
Okay, so did you feel like you got acclimated to that?
Yeah, I got definitely when we docked with the space station at 2 days, and then there's a lot more room too, and you really get to kind of more experience this whole floating thing and how to move over long distances, and it really comes quickly at that point on how to move well, I think. And so by probably like 4 or 5 days, you're getting decent at it, and by the end of 2 weeks, I thought it was pretty good. But I realized after spending 6 months over there, I wasn't that good ever then. When you spend 6 months over there, you become really, really good at it. Yeah.
So did that? Go ahead, Evan.
Just a quick question. Did you get any training in the zero-G plane just to get a taste of what that was going to be like, or was this just like trial by fire, figure it out? Yeah,
it was pretty much trial by fire. We only used the zero-G aircraft for like working on some maybe like scientific experiments or something like that you're trying to test some hardware on. We don't get it for training for us at all. So no, it's pretty much just figure it out as you go, but you also fly with people who've flown before is the idea, so they can give you quick pointers like, don't do that. I was stupid.
Yeah.
Now you know why I said that before, right? Yeah. So that's the idea behind that. So
I'm curious though, as you're orbiting the Earth, from one point till you get around, how long does that usually take?
It's 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the Earth is what, 26,500 miles, I think. Something like
at the
that.
equator.
So, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So are you basically at the equator then?
No, we're on a inclination of 51.6 degrees, which means if you took the equator and you go ahead and draw a line up or change your orbit up 51.6 degrees, we're going around the Earth that way.
I see.
So really, as we go around, the Earth actually rotates underneath us as we go too. So when we go around the next, we consider the same spot, really in space, we go around, but the Earth has moved underneath us. So it's like 200 miles of Earth movement of us going around.
That's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So over a course of a day, you get to see the entire Earth, basically.
Pretty much, yes.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It is. It is. It's kind of fun. I have to admit, after also spending 6 months up there, I got really good at geography.
I bet so. You can start pointing out the different towns and that type of thing by light and that type of thing.
And then, you know, on the real Earth, there's no names and lines for countries and stuff like that, so you have to figure that out on your own.
So I'm really curious. So, do you experience night?
Not when we're inside the spaceship. We have our lights basically on. So, and we don't have that many windows, so we really don't get that idea of, you know, is it really night or day outside, because we're just working our normal daytime.
So if you're looking at Earth and you're in its nighttime in North Dakota, is it dark? I mean,
oh yeah, we'll be. We have a little more, I say, less of a dark time, depending on our orbit a little bit. But because we have we're high enough up, we'll have like a difference of maybe 5 to 10 minutes of still being in light while we can see it's dark on the ground below us.
Okay.
All right, after the break, everybody, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Steve Swanson.
Right now it's 64.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on SuperTalk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And welcome back to the show, everybody. In studio, we have Rockin Dave Blair, producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh, mad scientist Evan Anderson. That's your title, man. Yeah, that's what it says. And astronaut Steve Swanson. And we were just talking about this over the break. So Einstein's theory of relativity actually plays with you a little bit. So if somebody who was born at exactly the same time on Earth, how does that relate to you?
I'm 1 second younger, which is a huge amount in my book. Yeah.
He looks good.
So why is that? Why are you 1 second younger than somebody else who was born exactly at the same time on the planet?
According to Einstein's theory, is that as you speed or go faster, time will slow down.
Okay.
Right. And so just I always went faster going around the Earth at 70,500 miles an hour for 195 days.
Yep.
Hence, you put that equation together, it's I was 1 second less of my normal age.
So, go ahead, Jim. Ask the question. Push the mic back over to you.
I'll take the microphone.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a kind of a silly question, but a fun one. What do you think is the most realistic movie or TV show in terms of space travel? What is the one that, if any of them, that if you wanted people to know what it's really like, you would say, go watch that movie?
Apollo 13.
Really?
No doubt.
Yeah.
The way they filmed it in the zero-G aircraft.
Okay.
Right. So it gives you the most realistic idea of what it's like to float and all that idea. Now, they didn't have much room on that, of course, right there inside their spaceship. But that was definitely by far the most realistic, the best one out there.
Okay. What was, I know we all have 100 questions for you, so we're just going to kind of go through this real quick, I guess. But of all the experiences you had in space, and I know it would be hard to probably categorize this, but what do you think was the most unique thing you experienced in space?
How unique is that's an interesting, I always think that, the floating thing is what you can't experience anywhere else.
Okay.
Right. And that is, and just being to live in that environment where every day, and some things that makes most life just fantastic. I can do flips whenever I want to. I can just do, I can flip like Superman if I want to. I can do all these things that I just can't do anywhere else, right? Or it's on Earth, right? I mean, there are a few things you do that aren't so much fun with that. But overall, it is a fantastic experience. And that's what you miss most about like being gone from there. I think that's the thing that to me is just the thing that makes it something that's a fantastic experience.
So tomorrow's the fourth year anniversary of you coming back to Earth.
Right, exactly.
That's amazing in itself. So do you wake up sometimes thinking you're still like in space? No,
that goes away, unfortunately, really quickly. I have to admit, like a couple of days back home when you forget about that. Yeah, but I have to admit, when you first come home, especially when you're first waking up, that little kind of groggy, where am I kind of feeling, and especially the room's dark, you can feel like you're in space again for just a second. But
okay.
That goes away way too quickly, though.
So you were talking about earlier today about the ability to go to sleep at night. Is a challenge right away because you're not like laying in a bed, you're floating, right?
Exactly.
But you get used to this, and then you have amazing sleep.
Right, because you're on the best mattress there ever could be. It's like, air mattress, right? And so there's no stiff neck, no sore shoulders, no whatever.
None of that.
None of that at all. You sleep really, really well, but I say going to sleep because you don't get that comfortable position of lying with your pillow in a certain way and all that, and kind of curled up with a blanket or something on top of you. You don't have any of that. You're just kind of standing asleep and thinking of it that way.
The day and night thing has to kind of mess with your head a little bit.
It does, but where you sleep is there's no windows, so we just turn off the lights and you don't have to worry about any sunlight coming in. Because we realize that can screw you up if you go out and look out the window area we have called a cupola, which is this kind of like a glass bottom boat, even think of it that way. It's a really great area to look at. But if it happens to be really bright at that time and you go to that just before bed, it'll take a lot longer to get to sleep if you do that. So we learn to not do that right before bed.
So now when you sleep on a regular mattress, I mean, the first couple of days you're back. I mean, I know that it took you a little while to acclimate back on Earth. I mean, you're gone for 6 months. Just walking had to be a challenge. I'm just curious about the sleep experience right away. I mean, was that a challenge too? Or?
It wasn't too much, no. Because one, you're really tired when you first get the day's really long coming back. It's when we actually leave and all the time we get back, it's been already up 24 hours by the time we land on Earth. And then from then, I get on a 2-hour helicopter ride to an airport in Kazakhstan, which then I start like a 15-hour flight back to Houston. So this is, my day is really, really long, right? And so I'm just taking little naps here and there and stuff like that. And when I get to Houston, I then I had 20 minutes with my family, and then it was 8 hours of tests. So it's just like you just go. So by the time you hit that bed, you could sleep anywhere.
Right. So any. I've read other astronaut accounts of maybe seeing unusual things, whatever. Did you see anything that maybe is unexplainable? I'm not talking UFOs or anything. Did you just see some glowing lights or anything like that you just were curious about? Or
I would say no. I mean, not really. We looked at Earth a lot and saw some great things, but nothing I would thought would be totally out of the ordinary kind of thing. So I was looking too. People always ask me, what did you see? I said, I was looking at it because if anybody actually saw something different or an alien, my God, you'd be yelling it out to the world. Talk about NASA, it's like hiding the stuff. You couldn't hide that if you wanted to.
Yeah,
we all want to talk about it.
Sure. The footage of lightning that you were showing this morning,
cool.
That was amazing, absolutely amazing. Dave.
I think a lot of listeners always, and we talked about TV dinners, but I was looking at some articles about bringing fresh fruit up there, because a lot of times you're supplying the space station when you come up to dock with it, right? With supplies.
If you're in the shuttle, right, that's part of your job,
right? If you're in the shuttle. So I'm always wondering why does fruit age up there then too?
Oh yeah, it ages too. So we have to bring it. That's the only time the people who are living up there for the 6 months get anything fresh is when a cargo vehicle or like the shuttle would come and dock with it, and it only then lasts the same amount of time. So you only get it for like a week or something of fresh food.
Okay, so it doesn't change from Earth up in space at all.
And so and that's a really huge deal because it is more of a psychological thing because we don't get fresh food up there. And so to have that fresh food just for even it's a short period of time, maybe it's just a few apples or whatever it is it's a wondrous thing.
Yeah. I bet there's no waste on that apple at all.
Yeah, you're eating everything of it. Some people trying to grow the seeds, So
really, if you're on that space station, you're really looking forward to that shuttle coming in. And they talked about ice cream too.
Yeah,
right?
You'd have it a little bit. So you have like a whole care package for the people who were living on the station when you come up, and you gave it right to them right away, and they'd be gone for a half hour. I don't know where they went, but they were all eating it, hoarding it somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the environment on the station a little bit. You're exercising 2 hours a day. Saw that in a video this morning. Saw an awful lot of sweat. What is the environment like? What's the temperature, humidity, those kinds of things, and how did that work?
Yeah, so we have a whole control system that takes care of that for us, and we set the temperature around 73 degrees. So it's kind of a nice day. It's nice. Humidity is, I would say, average. So really, the way we do it, when you cool the air, you can set then the temperature of that just like at your air conditioner, but it will condense the air. So if you do that, then the less humidity you'll have. So you can do that, and we set it that way. So it's not like it's dry, but it's not also humid at all either. And so it's kind of a nice environment, but you don't need to check your phone any day because it's going to be the same thing every day.
Short sleeves.
Short sleeve environment, pretty much sleep that way, everything that way. Yeah, so it's. I thought it was comfortable. I didn't really have an issue with it. Never thought it was too hot, too cold, anything like that.
You guys didn't fight over the thermostat?
No, we never did. We were all fine with that. So,
as we were watching that video this morning too, was you were working out the one time, there was you were perspiring pretty heavily at that time, right? So the nice thing is that you probably get no perspiration in your eyes, right?
It doesn't run down, right? And one of the reasons you get that though is you don't have any wind on you much to give you that whole any kind of wind effect.
So you have no cooling going on.
That's the problem with it while you're working out, and that makes it much.
Because I noticed that. I mean, you looked like you were just drenched. So does this stuff just does it just float away from you?
Well, it does. It becomes condensation, really, right? And then we recycle the condensation also.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because the same thing when you cool the air, it becomes condensate, and we put that into a tank, which then gets recycled, and we drink it again.
So and speaking of that, so of course the kids this morning were like amazed when they heard that you were drinking your own urine. That was the exciting.
Yeah.
But it's
you better talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So
recycled.
Yeah, recycled. Yeah,
so,
you're right. But it's what was the name of the Kevin Costner movie in the beginning when he it's the water world. Yeah,
right,
I mean, kind of did the same thing there, right? Middle of the ocean and can't drink the salt water.
Right.
So
no, the process is really good though. It works well.
Well, obviously it has to.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but the fountains at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, they didn't get a water permit, so they said that's okay, and so they just recycle all the water from people in the. Go ahead, Jim. Take a. But that whole lake is basically at one time was urine, and recycled. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Steve, I was looking at the Wikipedia page about your bio, and it mentioned that you're a brown coat. What exactly is a brown coat?
Oh, there's a TV series and movie. It was Firefly, and the movie was Serenity.
You and my wife would get along.
Yeah. So browncoats it was the rebels basically in that movies, and that's so basically the fans are called browncoats. And so my first mission up, though, I took all the DVDs from the TV show and movie up to the space station for kind of my gift to the people up there, so we could stay on station then.
So did anybody convert over to it too? They were big fans.
Yeah, actually, I got quite a few people to convert too. Yeah. But they didn't get to watch it then, but they've watched it other times. And so,
I see.
I don't suppose you have Summer Glau's number, do you?
No, I don't. No, right.
Tell me that Star Trek is in the library up
there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Star Trek's huge too. Yes.
So is that like an astronaut prerequisite that you have to watch Star Trek, or?
I would say a prerequisite, but I think most astronauts like science fiction, so that's pretty much a given.
So do you think it's Star Trek or Star Wars that's more predominant with astronauts?
That's a good question. I can talk about my viewpoint,
and
I'm definitely more of a Star Trek than Star Wars.
Okay.
I like them both, but I think to me the Star Trek, what I liked about it, it deals a lot more with I think social issues in a ways, and brings them out and talks out these points that can show our culture and maybe the pros and cons of what we do, but in a different world, and so you don't take it in a way that you become defensive about it.
Sure.
So it can show you things, and I think that's what Gene Roddenberry was really going for when he made that show.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it, I think, so interesting and so much better for us.
More with astronaut Steve Swanson after the break.
Right now, 70 degrees.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on SuperTalk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And over the break, I've been out Star Trekked.
Yeah.
I keep adding cool stuff to my collection. And Evan, pull the mic over, Evan.
All right.
So, we were just talking about the Star Trek experience in Vegas. It was at the Hilton for many years, right?
Yep.
And obviously, you and Janya had gone there many times.
Yep. We sure did.
Okay. And you end up with there was a bar downstairs that I would love to go to called
Quarks,
and they had these amazing drinks. And you got to tell the story about what you have here. This is crazy.
Well, we used to just love going to Star Trek The Experience. We were just devastated when they were going to close it down. We even went for one of the final weekends and spent a weekend there. And then they ended up auctioning off a lot of the things from from that attraction. And one of the things they auctioned was the sign that hung over Quarks. And I mean, literally tens of millions of people visited this place. And so we got kind of involved in a bit of a bidding thing. They were expecting it to go for $600 or something like that. And it was an online and a live bid going on in Vegas kind of simultaneously. And I'm not going to tell you what we paid for it, but it was.
But you have it.
But we have it in our bar in the basement, and we love it. So, and we even have kind of a full Quarks bar menu. We got to know one of the bartenders there who shared some of the recipes and stuff with us, and yeah, we are full on geeks.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. I have no words right now, so.
Yeah, I'm just impressed. That's
I'm impressed too. I'm impressed too. So, Dave, you had a question?
You know, maybe changing gears here a little bit about the future of NASA and where we're going. Obviously, everybody's looking at Mars and, hey, colonizing it. Does Moon make more sense to colonize it than Mars? And, you know, what's your take on that?
Yeah. So over the last few years, we've switched from going directly to Mars to doing the Moon or something very similar beforehand, because I do think that's the way to go. We do not have the ability, technology, to actually go straight to Mars at this time. It's just really a complex, difficult, very logistically difficult mission. It's going to take you about 8 months to get there. You can only launch once every 26 months because the planets have to align just right when you launch. It's going to have to stay there about 15 months, and then you get to come back. So it's going to be an over, like a 30 to 32 month mission, and you can't come back early. So you think everything has to work right or have everything with you to fix anything that goes wrong. So you think of logistics. We haven't solved the radiation problem. There's just tons of things that we don't know yet. So the only way to figure this out is to go to the Moon, start like a base on the Moon, and start doing that, which I think is in the works now. And so we're going to start heading that way and get that down. And once we get good at that, get our equipment being robust, reliable, all that, and then we can figure out how we want to go on to Mars at that point. But we're just not there at this time.
You know, one thing that always intrigues me, too, is that as an astronaut, how many years were you part of NASA program?
28 years. And
then how you determine when you want to retire, or do they determine when you want to retire?
Well, it's probably, I determined like this case. I could have stuck around and maybe done another one. But for me, I grew up in the Rocky Mountain area, and I love the Rocky Mountains, and I love the outdoors. And we have to live in Houston to be an astronaut. And for me, it wasn't the outdoor kind of environment I would like to live in. And so after 28 years, and there's also my wife involved with this decision too, of course, right? And she didn't get to go to space, so she just lived there, right? Think of it this way. And so when it was done, I got done with this last one 4 years ago. We started talking about possibilities. And another driving factor was at this current rate right now, there's 4 slots for U.S. astronauts a year. And there's like 50 astronauts at the currently right now. So if you do the math there, it says you're not going to fly for maybe 10 years. Maybe you get lucky and you go at 8 or something like that. Right? But so that's another time. And then the fact that we both want to get back to the Rockies. So that was time for me. I decided I'd got to, fly in the shuttle. I got to fly in the Soyuz. I got to live aboard the station. I got to be commander of the space station. I got to do, spacewalks. I kind of had done all the bucket list things that I wanted to do, even though I would love to have flown kind of SpaceX or the Boeing vehicles coming up. But I just knew it would be years before I get to do that. So I think it was time for me to kind of change my perspective on life and go have fun doing the outdoor activity stuff.
So what are you doing right now with your time besides coming to Bismarck, North Dakota?
Which is a good time.
Yeah.
Right. But what I do is I work at Boise State University. So I'm back in the Rockies, which I like. And I love it there because, again, the outdoor activity, there's tons of mountain biking. I can go rafting and backpacking and all that right from my back door kind of. So I really like that aspect of it. And that's really been fun for me. And I love working with students. I get to do projects-based stuff and really NASA-based projects, too. So it's really fun to work with students on that.
Awesome.
And of course, you're in town because of DisruptWell tomorrow.
Yes.
So you'll be part of a panel discussion, which will be very interesting because on your panel is Superintendent of Public Schools Kirsten Baszler, and I know you're a big STEM fan as well. So I think that conversation will be very interesting tomorrow. So I also had the privilege of helping out with National Astronaut Day 2.5 years ago. Yeah, about 2.5 years ago. No, May 5th, 2016 was the first ever. And I got to meet many astronauts that day. It was probably one of the best days of my life. You know, there's a couple others, of course, personally, but that was pretty cool for me because I've always looked up to astronauts. I mean, so I met astronaut Brian Duffy. Do you know astronaut Duffy?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So we were having a conversation. His wife was there as well, and he told me he snuck a teddy bear on his last mission because he wanted to give that teddy bear to his grandson at the time. So did you ever, and I don't know, I mean, I know this is not something that's probably talked about publicly, and Brian's probably not real happy with me right now when I'm saying this, right? But
that was all hypothetical. It never really happened.
That's right, never really happened, yeah. So in your life, hypothetically speaking, what would you have snuck onto a spacecraft?
Well, there's no, again, hypothetically speaking, except I do have video of this. So it's actually my GoPro camera.
Oh, okay.
So, because especially for the Soyuz launch, they put GoPro cameras, the Russians did, but they had control of those and they kept all the film, or not film, sorry, all the recordings of that. So we never had access to that, especially as Americans. They weren't giving us access to it. So, like, well, I want to record the launch and landing. So we have little pockets where we keep our gloves when we're not using them on the launch and entry suits for the Soyuz. So I accidentally put a GoPro in mine and had it all ready to go. So once we got ready for launch, I just pulled it out and then hung it, put it kind of on my knee, kind of hold it there for the whole launch and entry, stuff like that. So that was kind of thing that I and I did get yelled at by the Russians afterwards.
I can believe that.
But,
interesting.
Yeah, but it was. I memean, all they're going to do is they had to do I guess out in the open, like you shouldn't have done that kind of thing, and they actually didn't say there was one on board they mentioned. You know, it was kind of thing like somehow GoPro got on board. Yeah. And we want this not to happen again. I'm not flying again. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Is that the same GoPro that we saw?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
So the other thing too, I mean, I visited with Dr. Leroy Chow there, and we got talking about patches, and I didn't realize this before. Maybe it's common knowledge, but I see you have a couple patches on your flight suit today. Tell me how a patch gets put together for your missions.
Right. So the crew puts the patch together. It's the first thing. And so we will try to come up with an idea of what we are trying to represent or what we want to do with the patch, and then and take it from there. Now you're going to like this one because this patch right here, which it's hard to see, but this is the Expedition 40, and I was a commander, so it was actually my job to come up with a patch. And again, get some help from the crew. But the original design on this thing actually here had this red ring with these little things coming out like here, which was the Klingon symbol. Right, so I was trying to put the Klingon symbol on the patch, right? And the idea was trying to pay a little tribute to Star Trek, which I watched when I was a kid, and it gave me, I think, my love for space exploration. And so I had this whole patch designed off of the Klingon symbol. Actually, if you look up, there's a Nightblood patch online. It's a Klingon Nightblood patch, and I kind of found that, and I kind of wanted to base it off this whole thing. And I even got rights from CBS to use it. I contacted them.
Wow.
It was really, I had it all down, and NASA Legal shot me down, saying I was endorsing Star Trek, and I'm not allowed to do that. And so I was a little mad at them. So if you notice, if you go to the ISS Instagram page, which I started on ISS, the second picture, the first one, I have a shirt of Serenity from the brown coat, and the second one is a big Klingon symbol, a T-shirt I wore that day for that one, just to say hi to them.
Yeah, and of course we're running out of time, so so you were the first astronaut to use Instagram from space.
Yes, it was.
So how was that?
I was fine. It just started the whole thing. I decided instead of having my own, I'd rather try to promote the ISS itself. And so that's why we decided to do an ISS Instagram, and people have carried it on since then.
All right. Steve, it's been a great pleasure to have you on the show. Evan, thank you for being here as well. Dave, Jim, have a great week, everybody.
Yeah,
thank you.